if someone is, they've got their career, they've gone through school and sports, they've been okay at certain things, but they choke in other things and they still have fear, and they're maybe in their late 20s, 30s, or 40s. They're kind of set in their habits and their ways. Is it possible to go from being a choker your whole life to now not choking anymore in different areas? Or you're kind of trained choker, you're always going to be a choker?
Yeah, well, I think just as you're not born a choker or a thriver, you can change your brain. And there's an old myth that our brains are pretty static once we get above a certain age, especially. I mean, I guess it goes with you can't teach old dogs new tricks, but the neuroscience research shows that that's just not true. Like brains can change at any time. If you have someone practice juggling for 6 weeks, the areas of their brain that control motion will grow more connections, right? It's just like anything else. We know that if you practice meditation, how your brain talk to each other, grow more connections. Your brain is pretty plastic, and I think you can learn these things.
What's the challenge you still face today where you choke?
I'm pretty good at speaking on my feet and speaking in front of other people. So I don't really feel the pressure as much there. But there's always situations maybe where I'm in a meeting where I know someone doesn't agree with me, and I have to get them sort of to see my point of view. And I find that I have to calm myself down. Like I want to just talk, but I have to make myself listen. And when I'm feeling stressed, I want to talk. Like I want to just be in control of the situation. And I find myself really having to guide myself to like step back and hear what they say. Because oftentimes when we're stressed, we don't listen, right? And this is true in the medical profession. Doctors have been shown to not listen to each other about communicating information. And it's not even that you don't listen, you don't even know you haven't listened. And a great example that has happened to all of us, like have you ever been at a party or someone introduces themselves to you and you realize right after you don't remember their name, like right after. And the research shows that it's not because you forgot it, it's that you probably weren't even listening when they said it. Like we never got it in. Because we were thinking about ourselves, we were focused on ourselves or how they were looking at us, and we just weren't paying attention.
Yeah, it's the art of paying attention, and listening is a powerful tool. How do we prepare ourselves on a daily basis to listen more, to not stress, and not try to be in control, especially I feel like right now with everything that's happening in the world, everyone's just yelling at each other for their point of view as opposed to allowing for conversation to be had. How do we get to a place in society to kind of allow ourselves to listen to each other when we're just like, no, we need to win. We need to be right on either side of any conversation?
Yeah, it's a hard question, right? And one that we're not doing so well at solving right. at any place. I mean, I think part of it is figuring out what's the most important thing to get across, right? I think we often want to just get all this information across, but like, what are your 3 points, or what's the one most important thing that you don't care about anything else, right? I talk to students about this when you give a presentation. Like, people aren't going to remember everything. What do you want them to walk away with? What's the one thing? And if you can focus on that, then it frees up your attention to listen to someone else, right? Then you're not thinking about all the different things you want to get across. It's just that one thing. And I think it really does come back down to that. Like, you don't walk away from any interview remembering everything. You remember a couple take-home points. And it's liberating to come out thinking, okay, I'm going to give this big presentation. I'm going to try and convince people of X, Y, or Z. This is all I really care about. I'm going to interview for a job. I just want them to know this thing.
Yeah. What's something you wish more people knew about this topic that people don't ask you enough about, or you don't hear people talking about enough?
I mean, I think the idea that you have to practice figuring out how to listen to people who have opposite views is really important. It's not an easy skill. Like it doesn't just come to you, just like pole vaulting. You had to like work on it, right? And it's hard to have conversations where you feel uncomfortable. We already talked about people not going to pushing to beat discomfort in sports. It's true here too. Like, it's so much easier to talk to people who agree with you. And that's essentially what happens on social media, right? We're in this circle of people who agree with what we're saying for the most part, and it's just like echoing and reaffirmed. Mm-hmm. So how do you go out of your way to find people who don't agree with you, to have conversations that are going to make you uncomfortable? And it's actually okay to be uncomfortable. I talk about this all the time at Barnard. I think it's okay to be uncomfortable in the classroom. Like, it's okay to be pushed. We don't want hate. We don't want, in that way, we don't want people to be fearful. But being uncomfortable, it makes your ideas better. If you have to argue your point and you have to get it across, it makes whatever you do better. That's what academic greatness is about.
What do you see as possible for people in the future if they were able to actually use these tools you talk about under pressure?
Yeah, I think we're going to continue to push the limits of what humans can do. Look at all we're doing in this anxiety-provoking time to advance science, right? We're having difficult conversations about structural racism and class issues that we haven't really confronted in the same way. And it's going to be uncomfortable and not everyone's going to agree, but I think we're also seeing some really fantastic aspects of human nature come out of this, along with all the negativity. Yeah. So I have hope, I have optimism. I think a lot of people have gotten used to being uncomfortable just in general. This is something we never would have expected with quarantine and COVID, and I think it's going to allow us to meet challenges in the future. Yeah. So I'm optimistic in that way.
That's great. I got a few final questions for you. This one is about thoughts, feelings, and self-talk. Which one has more power over the body? The way we feel in a moment of like tremor and anxiety and stress, how our thoughts are conditioning our body, or what we're saying to ourselves with our self-talk? Which one, and how do we marry all three in our favor?
So I'm a little biased because I'm a cognitive scientist, so I really study what's going on in the head, right? So I think that's really important. And I will say that the reason I think it's so important is because we can change how our body and those feelings, how we interpret them, right? And when we change how we interpret them, it affects us in different ways. So if you have sweaty palms and a beating heart and I say, oh my God, that's a sign that you're really, this is going to be tough and you're about to fail. Like, you're obviously feeling a lot of pressure. Saying that to you is going to make you more likely to fail. But instead, if I say to you, hey, that sweaty palms and beating heart are actually a sign that you're awake and ready to go. Did you know that your heart is shunting blood to your brain so you can focus on the right things and get rid of those negative thoughts? Then that increase in physiological response is actually going to be a good thing, right? And so how we feel, that beating heart is the same when you're excited and happy as when you're scared. The physiological response is the same. It's just how you interpret it. And so there's so much power in that. Yeah. And so reminding yourself, this sweaty palms and beating heart mean I'm ready to go. And I always say, look, if your heart wasn't beating, you'd be dead, right? You're getting ready for what's so important in what you're doing. It's good you're amped up. If you weren't amped up, you wouldn't be putting your best foot forward. It matters, just saying that.
If you're looking for more greatness in your life, make sure to check out this video right here. And also check out our free PDF, The 3 Secrets to Unlock the Power of Your Mind to help you change your life. Download it right here.
But here in the United States, and I want people to really get this, we have an epidemic. And nobody's talking about this. And nobody's talking about this right now in association to the problems we're seeing. We have an epidemic of obesity.